Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of HealthLine on Chat Night Africa. My name is Divine Nchamakong, and I'm anchoring this broadcast from Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Your concerns are at the center of the decisions we make here at Chat Night. And that's why tonight our focus is on abdominal fat. Beyond just wanting a slimmer build so to look right in your exquisitely tailored suit or other outfits, developing abdominal fat could trigger dire health consequences. But you ask, what are they? How do people come about developing belly fat? Can anything be done about it to get it away or to prevent? These questions and more on HealthLine tonight.
We love Chat Night Africa. Keep watching Chat Night Africa.
And to take my questions, but also yours because we will be opening the phone line to our studio so that those questions you have, you can ask them directly to Dr. Joana Tala. Dr. Joana Tala will be taking all your questions. You can choose to remain anonymous if you want. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Joana Tala is not only a physician, she is also a board-certified lifestyle consultant and coach. Join me now in welcoming Dr. Joana Tala on HealthLine's platform. Dr. Tala, thank you for accepting our invitation to take questions on HealthLine at Chat Night.
Thank you very much, Divine. And thank you, fellow listeners. I am Dr. Joana Tala, and I would be happy to answer questions on this topic.
In clinical terms, what is abdominal fat?
Yeah, abdominal fat is just simply fat that is found around your belly area, around your midsection or the abdomen, at the abdominal area of your body. There are two types of abdominal fat, or two areas in which fat can be located, which is found around the abdominal area. You have the visceral or deep tissue fat, and you also have the subcutaneous fat. This is the fat that can be pinched, that is just right under your skin. All of this can be found in the midsection of your body.
Thank you, Joana Tala, for that very brief description of the types of abdominal or belly fat. Does belly fat and abdominal fat mean the same thing?
Absolutely, Divine. It's the same thing called different things. You know, belly fat is sometimes referred to as apple-shaped or abdominal fat, like you rightly say.
Now, what
many different names.
The people who once had a flat tummy, like myself, fortunately, I don't have abdominal fat. What happens that all of a sudden, perhaps not all of a sudden, they begin to develop what they hate? I can tell you that a lot of women hate this. Some have tried tying very tough belt around their stomachs. They've tried concoctions. Some have tried exercises, and it just doesn't work. So how does one get from having a slim build to developing a bulging stomach? Is it the same thing as pot-belly stomach?
Absolutely. So yes, how do you get a large abdominal fat? Well, it's calories for the most part. 90% or even above, more than 90% of this abdominal fat is excess calories that is stored as fat. Now, the reasons behind this can be multiple, right? A small subset of this is caused strictly by stress. All right, stress would cause the release of this hormone called cortisol, not to be too technical, but this is a stress hormone that most people know. And it causes the redistribution of fat in the body. So there has to be fat. Also, cortisol can cause the breakdown of muscle tissue in order to release sugar, which is sugars in the body, blood glucose, and this can be used. This could trigger the release of insulin, which then converts the excess sugar into fat in the liver. Now, the majority of people with abdominal fat is mostly due to lifestyle. And lifestyle can lead to hormonal changes. Also, stress leads to hormonal changes. And then, of course, age is not helping. With age, we have a decrease in metabolism. So even if you stay eating the same kind of meals you always ate, for women after menopause, you begin to see a redistribution of fat in the body. Now, when there is excess fat, this fat gets stored around the abdominal area. These two ways in which fat is stored in the abdominal area, the subcutaneous fat is the less problematic, if you will. This is the one that is easily seen. However, the visceral fat is fat that is stored around the tissues and around the organs in the body and our vital organs. We are talking about the liver or the stomach, the intestines, and sometimes surrounding the blood vessels in the abdominal area. So this is fat that is going to press on organs, that is going to cause the release of some chemicals that are not very beneficial for our health.
When you talk about lifestyle, something comes to my mind that is something that's preventable, or before we even get there, what are the lifestyle? What is the lifestyle that would trigger or would bring about abdominal fat?
Yeah, so Divine, general excess fat and calories in the body can be stored as fat. So there we go. That's number one. We have the way we eat. So our nutrition, as everybody can guess, can eventually lead to abdominal fat. Now there's excess fat in the liver, and now the liver pushes that fat into other tissues. Okay, so then stress is another component. So this is also lifestyle related. If we are stressed, this hormone cortisol, the stress hormone, gets released, and this converts, again, like said, converts muscles and other parts of the body into sugar or blood sugar, which causes the increase in the hormone that stores fat, insulin. And insulin now begins to store this fat all over the body. So our lifestyle is very important, as you can see, Divine. What we eat, the types of food we eat, will also trigger this excess in calories and excess storage of these calories. Also, maybe if we're not doing enough exercises, this also, so physical activities basically, this also will lead to storage of the excess calories. Then the stress component, we need to know how to manage stress, Divine, because stress is a huge part of this.
You say the way we eat, and that leads me to this question. When you look at people in our community, let's take the Cameroonian community, although you look around Africa, it's the same thing, same story. There are people who will eat the achu. I mean, if you're from Cameroon, you understand what I mean?
Yes.
There are people who eat fufu corn, and they're not changing. And I see lots of them. I'm asking them, what is it that you're doing that you're not changing? And I don't see these people running every day in the morning or finding themselves in the gym. So why would A, eat all those high carbs foods and develop bulging stomachs, and some eat and do not? What's happening?
Yes, Divine. So there is a genetic component to this, as you might guess, where the metabolic rate of some people, known as the basic metabolic rate, can be different from other people. Now, there is also what is known, a little phrase that we have here in the US, thin in the outside, fat in the inside. So this means that although you're not seeing this subcutaneous fat, you're not really particularly noticing somebody getting, increase in fat or fatter, in terms of weight. You're not seeing somebody getting fat does not necessarily mean that there is no fat being stored around the visceral organs. So the short answer to this, Divine, is that there is a genetic component to this, which means that the way our body will store fat might be different in different people. Some people would process this excess calories faster and get it, out. Other people would not process it as well. Okay, and then the genetic component of where in the body is this fat being stored.
Pastor John Summer is saying, Divine, this is a very good question indeed. John Summer is somebody I've known for a long time in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area.
Okay.
One day, I met him and asked him, is it just prayers that you are praying that you stay so slim, sleek, your suits look so good on you? Or don't you eat the fufu corn that I eat and others eat? I do understand as a pastor of a Pentecostal church, he doesn't drink alcohol. That I get. But this is what leads me to this question. Why A and not B? Now you've answered the question. Let me ask you this. I've seen a lot of Chinese, especially, Chinese, and a lot of Asians, Koreans, Chinese.
Yeah.
And they don't go around with bulging stomachs. I don't know. Is it just that I'm seeing those select few, or is that also your observation, ma'am? And if it is, what is it that the Chinese are doing that we Africans are not doing, that Hispanics are not doing, that a lot of Americans are not doing? I'm talking about those ethnic groups or nationalities that tend to develop a lot of big stomachs. What are Chinese doing that we are not doing?
Okay, so two parts to this answer. I have two parts to your question. So the first one is what I just talked about. Thin in the outside, fat in the inside. So these people in general, if you took two people one from your Chinese racial groups, and you took an African, for example, and they were feeding on exactly the same things, eventually they're going to be storing fat, okay? So the basal metabolic rate might be different in each group. There's that genetic component to it, but eating the same types of diets that are going to lead to excess fats is going to be the same, it's going to be similar in both groups. So now, where exactly this fat is going to be stored might be different. Now I'll tell you a little short story. This is about a guy, Dr. T. Colin Campbell, has done huge studies on Chinese, actually in China, Chinese people in China over many years, over 20 years, as well as Chinese people who migrated to the US and started eating our standard American diets. And what he saw, and is written in his book, The China Study, is that the people in China are eating a lot of vegetables, a lot of healthy, fresh, whole foods, and are doing a lot of moving around. They're moving around, so exercising. When they move to the US, you can tell the difference that immediately occurs. If they don't keep to their initial or ethnic diets, those that do not keep to those diets are going to see a shift. They are going to begin to accumulate fats as well. The fats might be distributed a little differently, but the fats are going to be there. Divine. Now, in terms of our Africans, we see similar things. In the early 80s or back in the 70s, 60s, when we were not having a lot of similar Western type diet, and I'm talking about excess processing of carbohydrates, even excess processing of oils, you could tell also that this issue of excessive bulging of stomachs was a different kind, you could see with a different population. What was known as the rich man's type of physique, the bulging stomach was referred to as a rich man. That's because he was just eating a lot more of the Western type of diet. He had the money to buy those compared to the people, say, in the villages who were eating mostly, foods from the land, green things, and moved around a lot.
You're definitely right. When you look around, again, let me share the experience that I gathered from Cameroon, where I'm from. Rich people, you call them sugar daddies, or
exactly.
tycoons at the university in Yaoundé. They used to call them Boma.
Yeah.
They went around with really big bellies, and people saw that as a symbol of wealth. Exactly. And like, as you say, perhaps so, because they could afford the sweet drinks. Because, drinking sweet drinks, eating in Africa and drinking sweet drinks, it's luxury. And so They could afford those things, and the poor ones would not. And so the poor ones are eating all the vegetables, the bitter leaves, the okombongs, and all those
exactly.
things. And they tended to think that they were very poor. Here is what Pastor John Sama says. I love the passion of your guests.
Thank you.
That's if you haven't known this lady, she's one passionate woman I know in what she does. And I'm going to be communicating with you what her phone number is. Dr. Joana Tala, a question I just got by text. You can send your questions to me by text. If you are in the United States, you can text me your questions. If you want to remain anonymous, that's fine. The number is 240-603-7367. 240-603-7367. If you're overseas, you can do that on WhatsApp. You first do 001. Okay, this is Voices, not Voices of Africa, but HealthLine on Chat Night Africa. And my name is Divine Chamakong. This broadcast is on different platforms. It's on YouTube, for those who are not on Facebook. It's on LinkedIn. It's on our Facebook broadcast page and my timeline. And it's on the internet, www.chatnightafrica.net. Dr. Joana Tala, tell me, at what point does somebody's size of stomach become a medical concern?
Yes, Divine. As soon as you notice that we have an average size of what we call waist circumference, that is, if you use a measuring tape and you measure the size of your abdomen around, you put the tape around your waist, along the upper hip bone, the uppermost tip of your hip bone, and all around to your belly button, snugly while you're standing up, and you measure this. For a woman, if it's above 35 or above, this is already concerning. It is indicating that there's abdominal fat. And remember that whenever there is abdominal fat, there is a visceral fat component. For men, if you do the same tape measuring around the abdominal area, you have to have above 40, then you definitely want to begin to worry. See your doctor, see a health professional, and definitely see what you can do about this. The reasons why this is dangerous, Divine, and fellow listeners, is because this abdominal fat, as we said, has the visceral component, which is the deposition of fat around very vital organs, such as your liver, your stomach, the intestines, sometimes your pancreas. These are very important organs. And because this fat is sitting everywhere around these organs, it leads to some dysfunction of these organs. The fat is also not sitting there just like that. It's producing really nasty chemicals, inflammatory markers that can enter the blood, and they can travel all over the body, creating a lot of havoc. Now, what we see is also an increase in hormones such as insulin. Insulin causes the storage of fat in these organs. Insulin has a lot of other, it's an important hormone in its own rights, where it pushes the excess sugar in the body into tissues, which is used for energy, of course. However, we don't want too much of insulin circulating in the body. It has a lot of detrimental effects. This can also compress the blood vessels around the liver, which are the blood vessels, the portal vessels, which are leading to, which is going to lead to problems with your cardiovascular system. Also, this can lead to disturbances in sleep, Divine. So all of these factors would lead to diseases such as insulin resistance and diabetes, cardiovascular disease, then you have all the sleep disturbances, and this is very, 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 very dangerous type of fat. Once we have this type of deposition of fat in the body, we have to do something about it. Divine?
You are watching HealthLine on Chat Night Africa. My name is Divine Chamakong. I'm anchoring this broadcast from Washington, D.C. metropolitan area.
We love Chat Night Africa. Keep watching Chat Night Africa.
Now you are watching. I want to bring up a point which Dr. Joana Tala brought up. You talked about our foods, the foods we eat. Yeah. And I can bet Dr. Najela Nukuna is watching because she loves to exercise.
She's into food. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. You seem to be condemning the foods we eat, if I get you right. But if I got you wrong, what is it we can do with the foods? I'm not going to as a Baliman. I'm not going to throw away my fufu corn. Somebody from the southwest region of Cameroon is not going to throw away their ero and water fufu. Somebody from the center region of Cameroon will not throw away their bobolo or their whatever. And I take Cameroon, not because we're broadcasting only to Cameroonians, we're broadcasting across the world, to people across the world.
Yeah.
The foods that people eat, the injera in Ethiopia, how can we eat all these things in ways that we don't develop bulging stomachs? Believe me, when I go to Bali meetings, there's so much food. I told Dr. Najela Nukuna, who is in your field,
yes,
that
I know that,
you coming, I push my plate under the so that I don't have any guilt. But again, I can hide it all I want. The effect in my body is going to be there. So my question to you, how can we eat the food? How can we leverage what we have to still keep the healthy stomach or lifestyle, whatever that you're talking about?
Yeah, Divine, that's portion sizes. I would say portion sizes is your key term. Yes, we have a lot of our cultural meals that composes of a lot of carbohydrates, okay? So carbohydrates, right, turn quickly, some carbohydrates, if they are not very complex carbohydrates, they are easily turned into sugars. Now, you talked about fufu corn. Fufu corn is from corn, right? Corn is a healthy plant starch. It is healthy. If you're eating the whole corn, you're eating every part of that corn and you're eating other vegetables along with this. It is not the same as the fufu, Divine. The fufu has been ground and the calories within the fufu has been compressed into a high calorie in a little volume, okay, if you will. Now, do I say we shouldn't eat that? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the portion size. We have to decrease the portion size, especially if we begin to notice some bulging around our waist area. We have to decrease the portion of the carbohydrate part and then add on a lot of fibrous foods, such as a lot of different vegetables, cooked and uncooked. So we're talking uncooked salads type of things, a mixture of salads. Why? They contain a lot of fibers. What do the fibers do? The fibers hold on to the starches, and the starches don't get absorbed as quickly as if you didn't have the starches in the body. So it's a very important point, Divine. You can go once in a while to your parties and eat a reasonable amount, and you take a little bit with you at home. You don't have to eat all of that. Very delicious meals, I accept it's very delicious, but you don't have to eat all of that, especially when your waistline is beginning to bulge.
And you talk about portion sizes. That's exactly the problem. When I go online, I'm reading all these servings, and I'm asking myself, how do I measure the serving, the right serving of my bowl of achu or my kati? And I love these things, fufu and smoked fish and bitter leaf. I love that stuff. And then my wine is there to wash it down with. Pastor John asked the question. I'm going to ask you the question, then I get to Pastor John Sama's question. So how do you measure, how do you talk in terms of servings? How do you use servings or communicate the word servings in a way that makes sense to the average African?
Now, here's the thing, Divine. I wouldn't go, everybody is unique. Everyone is unique. So I'm not going to put a specific number to this. But what I'm going to tell you is, if you are beginning to feel you're getting heavier, and also as you age, Divine, as we all age, the metabolic rate changes. So this is another component that people don't usually think about. So what I would say is, why don't you just reduce the amount you do? If I used to eat a bowl or a round of fufu, why don't I take half of that? Why don't I do half and then fill the rest with vegetables, all kinds of lovely vegetables, right? So you can see that we have to decrease our caloric intake, the carbohydrates. The reason being that as we age, what we used to get away with, our basic metabolic rate was robust, if you will. As we age, this slows. These begin to slow down. That means that the amount of calories that are burned by the body decreases. Okay, so we begin now to store a lot of fat. And this is due to the hormonal changes in the body, Divine. So what I will tell you is reduce the amount you used to eat. If you in particular, you used to eat a full fufu, why don't you cut that in half? And then, maybe take the rest home and serve yourself that in a couple of other days.
You are watching HealthLine on Chat Night Africa. My guest is healthy lifestyle coach and consultant, Dr. Joana Tala. Dr. Joana Tala, the question from Pastor John Sama. We are all struggling to cut down and be healthy. Many talk about consuming organic foods. What are your thoughts, Dr. Joana Tala? Which foods are healthy and better for us then? I think the insinuation here is a comparison between GMO and organic foods.
Now, I will tell you that organic foods are going to be better. Okay, that's closer to nature. What we are advocating for is as close as possible to nature, right? Let your apple that you're eating look like the apple on the tree. If you're eating applesauce now, that's already processed. Okay, the next point which the guest is bringing up is conventional versus organic. Well, we have many studies that show, obviously, that organic tends to be healthier. Why is that? Well, because organic simply means there are not a lot of chemicals that are sprayed on the food, okay? There might be some, it's significantly reduced. In our Western agriculture, of course, as you may know, we ship out foods all over the country, and this is good, of course. It provides food for everybody. However, in order to do that, we have to preserve the foods, don't we? We have to ship out food from California, where I am, to other parts of the country where it's winter right now. So we put some chemicals on them to preserve them. Sometimes in the fields, we spray these areas with maybe pesticides and herbicides, in as much as they are good in preventing all the pesticides from feeding on the crops. we have to remove these pesticides then, because they tend to have also some effects in our body. So the short answer to your question is that yes, organic is better than conventional.
Now you see why you watching, you listening are always at the center of the choices. And when I say choices, I mean the choice of topics that we bring on our platform.
We love Chat Night Africa. Keep watching Chat Night Africa.
And one person watching is Reverend Pastor Ernest Nchamukong. That's my cousin, full disclosure. So the question Ernest asked, if your waist size is becoming large, what do you do?
Good question. Good question, Mr. Chamkong. Now, what you have to do depends on what's the main underlying cause. Yes, we know there is excess calorie, but there is also that stress component, right? You need to see maybe a professional, or you look into yourself. Are you stressing a lot? If you're letting stress be a problem where you have this high levels of cortisol within your body, then there is going to be deposition of fat around some tissues which are really vital and important. If that's the underlying cause of the reason why you have a bulging stomach, then obviously we have to deal with that. We have to learn how to manage stress in a way that it doesn't create such, havoc in the body. Now, the majority of people it's a combination, right? There is the nutrition aspect, the excess calories, and there is a stress component. So in order to deal with this, clearly, as we all know, we have to go for nutritious foods, reduce calories, eat a lot of vegetables along with your food, reduce the amount of simple carbohydrates, reduce the amount of sugary foods, especially added sugars. Eat lean, clean proteins if you have to. Meats that, not meats that are covered in fat, lean meats. If you have this problem already, then you should definitely look at your nutrition and have someone. Now, I'm not talking about diet. I'm talking about a lifestyle, something that you can live on the rest of your life. So this is to be built over a period of time. Because
we'll come to that. We'll come to that. Let me ask you a question about the caloric intake. You see that a lot of our ceremonies, social functions, occasions take place in the evening. And sometimes they are not opening the lids on the dishes, on the pots, until it's about 11 p.m., 10 p.m.
Yeah.
The question becomes, and I believe that's the question burning a hole in lots of people's pockets watching now, is at what time of the day is it proper or not proper to eat your fufu corn, to eat your achu, to eat your bobolo, and all that ndole and all that? What are you recommending a time of the day that it is proper to do one thing and not the other?
Okay, Divine, in the setting of parties now, I want to say as a lifestyle practitioner that social events are absolutely necessary for our health as well. Now, when should exactly the time we should be eating, I'm not going to dictate it, but I'm going to say as early as possible. And on top of that, people, if we are going to eat, and enjoy ourselves with our friends, this is, I assume, an occasional event. Occasionally, you can do this. You eat like this with friends. You reduce your portion size, and then think of the dancing bit that we usually have in these occasions. Whatever the occasion is, even if it's traditional occasions, we have the traditional dances. Get up on your feet and dance. This is a reason why we have dancing as accompanying most of our social gatherings, because we tend to burn some of those calories when we dance.
Let's talk about processed foods. We have lots of them on our shelves in the marketplace. Let's talk about added sugars. Why are processed foods a problem?
Yes, Divine.
And when you talk about processed foods, what are you referring to?
Okay, yeah, simple. Processed foods are foods that have been taken from their natural state. Certain things have been removed from them. This is really moderate processing or even ultra processing. The more you remove or add to that natural food, this is what is referred to as processing. Now, if you got an apple and you just slice the apple, this is really minor processing. So it's almost just as good as the fruit itself. But processing in the real sense of the word is where you are either removing, stripping that food of something or adding something extra to that food. It is not anymore the natural, it's not in its natural state anymore. In most cases, in the Western diets, unfortunately, we have stripped most of the foods, especially the wheat and some vegetables. We strip them of their nutritious parts and the very vitamins that are so critical for our health. They've been stripped of important components, and just basically the carbohydrate piece is left. In most cases, most of these foods have important components stripped out of them, or things added that are not quite good for us. That is why processed foods are a problem.
In my cup, in my cup, I want to see Mimbo in my cup, in my cup, in my cup. I want to see Mimbo in my cup.
Okay.
Chat Night Africa. Keep watching Chat Night Africa.
And the reason I sang that song was not to tell you how great a singer I am. It was just to say that in most social functions that we Africans organize, not only Africans, Hispanics, especially people of color, there's a lot of drinks. I mean, just so much.
Yeah.
So much. What is the correlation between alcohol and a bulging stomach?
There is a lot there, Divine. Yes, excess alcohol obviously is excess calories, and it's not. It's just empty calories, as they call it. So these also tend to be stored as fats. This is why alcohol is it's dangerous. We have to go slow on alcohol. I mean, in most cases, we really need to reduce our alcoholic intake. Now, the US, the HHS, the Health and Human Services in the US, recommends for men below a certain age, at least, at most 2 drinks per day as the maximum. For women, not more than 1 drink a day. Now, you can't binge drink. What this means is take all of that amount that you're supposed to have in a week, for example, in 1 day. The reason being, this is going to be dangerous. The reason being that you are going to overwhelm your detoxification organ, which is the liver. You're going to injure the liver. You're going to overwhelm the liver. The liver has to work harder to process this alcohol. The metabolites of alcohol also composes of certain chemicals that are not quite useful to the body, and it's a little toxic actually. And if this accumulates, it's going to be a problem. So in general, 2 reasons: alcohol is excess calories that will have to be stored. It's going to trigger the release of insulin, which, as we know, insulin is a storage hormone. Insulin is going to try to push this hormone into the liver, and the liver gets saturated. It sends out this excess fat to other organs and tissues, Divine.
In my cup, I want to see Mimbo in my cup. Hey, look, guys, before you're singing that song and gulping multiple bottles of beer or liquor, be careful. Honestly, look, listen, Doc, I have gone to functions and seen the way some of my friends drink liquor. It just scares me. I have to be honest with you. Sometimes I'm wondering whether they know the consequence of what they're doing on their liver. It's extremely destructive. Now, we're not talking about the bulging stomach. and the health complications, the plethora of health complications that brings you. Let's talk about what can be done. But perhaps before I get there,
Okay.
When I talk to a lady somewhere around Africa about you coming, she said, Divine, nothing can be done. You have children, you're going to have bulging stomach, you're going to... I see you shaking your head, and I'm right. I think you are absolutely right, because one of my oldest daughters gave birth to a child, and she stays slim.
Yep.
So I didn't ask her what she was doing, but it dismissed the myth that just because you have children, you have to develop abdominal fat. Talk to me about it. When a woman gives birth to children, now there are women who have given birth to children. There are teenagers who will soon be married someday and give birth to children. Is it by default, is a bulging stomach a default when you give birth to a child?
Okay, so the answer to that question is so most people develop some protective fat around the area. So that would be subcutaneous type fat around the abdominal area when they are, when they are pregnant. Okay, so it takes some time for that to redistribute and to go away and for the person to adjust. Now, as you know, Divine, when we deliver in Africa and we are breastfeeding, rightfully too, the baby needs that breast milk. It is the healthiest meal that you can have. When we are breastfeeding, we tend to feed these new mothers with a lot of calories. They need healthy foods, yes. They need vegetables, they need fruits, they need all the foods that have a lot of vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals to assist that baby to grow a proper immune system and to grow properly. Yes, they need some calories as well, but this should be measured. In most cases, if the person is not careful, they will put on a lot of weight. And the reason being that they've just let go and they're now eating and thinking they are eating a lot. They're eating a lot of calories more than they should.
So I just want to make sure that I understand you correctly. So it's not the fact that they gave birth to, it's not birthing that is the problem. It's the eating that comes after that. And I tell you, in Africa, when you give birth to a baby, there are lots and lots of baskets of food coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
In Africa, when you get married and you're still looking slim, the man could have queries from the aunties. What's happening? Are you starving your wife?
I hope that was in the old days and that we've gone past all of that today. We are quite aware that the excess fat is detrimental to our health.
Question, Doc. When a woman gives birth, I can understand. I have children, so I've lived that experience. When a woman gives birth, should they tie something or maybe use a tough belt around their lower stomach, abdomen to... I've seen some women do that. I don't know whether it's a myth or they're doing it to stop, to prevent belly fat. What would you tell a woman who just gives birth to a baby?
There are some strategies, Divine, by the way, that uses this thermal burning of heat around the abdomen and things like that. I don't want to delve into that too much. I want to say that some of that, a little bit of that might be true. You might burn a little here and there. Now, the overarching problem here is really that after birth, of course, we have hormonal changes. I mentioned some hormonal changes with menopause. Remember, here you're getting, in terms of women, you're getting a steep decline in estrogen. Estrogen's effect on the positioning of nutrients or the position of excess calories is different from it has an effect in where your fats and excess calories will be deposited. Now, with childbirth, we are seeing some hormonal changes, at least initially, right? We have to adjust to just hormonal changes and until we get back to normal. So initially, you can see due to the hormonal changes before there is the leveling off to your normal usual state, there is some shifting in deposition of fat in the body. Now, what a woman who has newly delivered or given birth should do definitely is some targeted exercises. And they, you know, in the hospitals, they definitely do tell you that, you know, for cosmetic reasons, you can put a band, you can use spanks to look nice, you know, that's totally okay. But that is not going to be the only thing that should be done in order to maintain or to fall back into your normal weight.
Some people have just given up because they've tried concoctions, green juices, doesn't work. They've used the belt, I don't know what you women call it, it doesn't work. They've worn girdles, doesn't work. They've tried this, it doesn't work. What are you to do? That woman who has abdominal fat already, what are you to do? More belts, double it, triple it?
Divine, you can use those cosmetics when you need to, okay? But
when
if
you're
you
going
want
to a party.
Yeah, for a party, for example, to fit well in your clothes, that's fine with me. Now, but if you want to, you know, you want to have solutions to the belly fat, there are things to be done, right? We said before that the underlying cause is critical. Okay, mostly the nutrition is important. You have to see someone who can assist with this. Portion size should be reduced if there's excess calories. Portion size to be reduced. A lot of vegetables and fruits in your diet. A lot of fibers. These vegetables and fruits contain fibers. Much less or no additional sugars, please. Decrease if you already have abdominal fat, so you want this gone. You need to begin to do certain things targeted to your underlying cause. Your nutrition, if you were eating a bowl of rice today, this is going to immediately cause the spike in your insulin, because it is carbohydrates that tends to sugar fast, or glucose, and glucose insulin is released when glucose is there to put this glucose as a fuel into cells. So insulin will be there. Insulin now tends to put the excess calories into fat, excess fat in other parts of the body. Now, so you need to target the kind of nutrition you take. Now, to your question, people have been trying this. They've tried to drink juices. Now, how long are these people doing this stuff? What is their underlying cause? Nutrition is a big part, yes. How long? It took quite a while to develop this. Honestly, it's been going on, and we're thinking we are slim. We are eating all these processed foods for quite a while, sometimes years. The good news is that you can work on this, but you've got to be patient. You've got to be patient and persistent. Then, of course, that's not alone. Exercise is really, really important as well. Moving your body. Regular exercise is important. If you want this excess abdominal fat gone, eat properly. So the nutritious foods, a lot of vegetables and fruits, reduce the processed or simple carbohydrates, reduce the amount of those. You look at your plate. What did I used to have? And you decrease what you used to have. Okay? You can add, if you are still hungry, throw in a lot of vegetables, green leafy vegetables, because of the mineral content, because of the vitamins, and because of the phytochemicals that are in them, are going to all be positive things that are going to begin to melt out that fat area. Now, exercise is important for two reasons. Exercise will help you with your weight. In general, fat around the abdomen means you have excess calories, right? You will be burning out some of these calories if you did some movement. And I'm going to tell you the recommendation. So exercise is going to be important. But number two, if there's that stress component, which there is in most cases, when there's that stress component, exercise helps to decrease the stress. Exercise also causes the entrance of glucose into cells without the need of insulin. So you can see right there that exercise has a lot of benefits. What exercise, the recommendation is 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week of at least moderate intensity exercise. What is moderate intensity exercise? Exercise where your heart really beats and you begin to sweat, okay? You can talk, but you cannot sing. Okay. Now, there is also stress reduction, which we said, and sleep is important, Divine.
You are watching HealthLine on Voices of Africa, on HealthLine on Chat Night Africa. And my name is Divine Chamokong. We have our phone lines now open. You can actually dial the number. It's right here. The phone is here. Dial 240-603-7367. 240-603-7367. What are some of the myths about belly fat, abdominal fat that you hear around? What do you see every day? What are people's beliefs around this? Because I'm sure you've seen it all. Given your experience, given your training, what is it? What are some of the misconceptions that you've heard about abdominal fat, doctor?
Oh, I've heard a lot about this. Is my genetics. This is what my mother looks like. This is what my father looks like. This is what everybody in my generation, my family looks like, multiple generations. So it's just normal that I'm going to look like this. No, you do not have to look like that. I've heard that. And then, of course, it used to be that these people are rich, but believe me, I don't think anybody today, with the excess research information that we have today, that this is very detrimental, can lead to cardiovascular diseases and other types of diseases like, diabetes, high blood pressure, even sleep problems. With this knowledge, and you are told when you go to see your doctors, usually, that please, change your lifestyle. Please, at that point, come and see us. We'll help you, walk you through. Now, other misconceptions are that, this is going to, I will do a targeted exercise and that will go away. Maybe crunches. Yes, crunches would help. Crunches would tone the muscles around your abdomen, and this is good. If this is an additional exercise to your general workout, you will begin to see some changes, but very minute. You need to also look at all the underlying causes. What is it that you are eating? Specifically for you, because the underlying things that you eat can cause the increase in insulin, which might also lead to the deposition of such fat in the abdominal region.
Usually when people develop bulging stomachs, they go for what I would call microwave solutions. They go online, they say, hey, look, listen, if you took some pills in 3 weeks, 3 months, done. Have you had situations that you've handled, Dr. Tala, that drive or that you've had to solve the problem of abdominal fat in 2 months, in 3 weeks? Do you have a timeline on this?
No, Divine, I don't, and I don't really recommend this fast fixes. Yes, we can sometimes kickstart the process by doing some intensive kind of therapeutic lifestyle change. There are things you can do, really drastically cut calories to very low, and then exercise. Please believe me, if you did that, for sure, you're going to see your stomach overall, okay, the excess fat in the body is going to begin to reduce. Absolutely, that's going to happen. Now, is that the best thing? Can you keep it up? We need to be patient. We need to do what needs to be done and allow the time for the body to adjust. The body is going to kick against, but sometimes we are told, for example, like I've seen people who have said, who have developed a certain condition, and maybe the doctor said, you're now diabetic, and maybe just light diabetes, and then they have this bulging. Do something about your lifestyle, and they come and see me and say, I want this gone. And they've been ready and to take really intensive treatment, intensive changes, make intensive changes, and willing to stick to it. Now, let me inform people that the body also kick against sudden extreme changes. So you have to be prepared. You have to be knowledgeable. You have to withstand it and have that persistence, knowledge of where you want to go. The problem we're hearing always about people have tried this, tried that, and it didn't work. I would like to know how long they've been doing this for, how much of it have they done, and how intensive have they been doing this, And are they still doing this and still have bulging stomach? I'm sure us here that the answer is going to be no. They did it for a couple of weeks and they let go. No, behavioral changes based on my experience when I've worked with people with intensive therapeutic behavioral change, lifestyle changes, and we've had at least 12 weeks. Very fast, people can go in 8 weeks, they begin to reverse things. But most people go up to 12 weeks before they're comfortable and can live on that, on that new behavior. So it does take some time. We have to be patient. You have to be persistent.
Let me make sure that everybody's clear about this. You have a bulging stomach or you're developing it. What do you is it dieting? And if it's dieting, what is understood to be dieting? Or if it's not dieting, what is it they should do?
Divine is a combination of things. It is not dieting. It is eating nutritious food. I'm not recommending a specific diet. It's food groups. What do you eat? You eat some carbohydrates. We know that the 3 macronutrients, right? The 3 major nutrients for our body: proteins, fat, and carbohydrates. There are certain proportions of each of these, and it is specific to each individual, right? So you want to, first of all, decrease the carbohydrates, especially simple carbohydrates. Why? Because the simple carbohydrates change immediately to fats. They change immediately to glucose in the body, and glucose in the body leads to insulin release, which then eventually leads to storage of that energy in form of fat. Okay, so we're going to begin by decreasing simple carbohydrates, no added sugars, things like that. We need to decrease that. And I've said before, vegetables, fruits, as fresh as possible with their nutrients still present. Sauté is a good way of doing most of these different vegetables. Mixture of vegetables, this is always good. I'm not recommending a specific diet. I'm recommending a lifestyle, a way of eating. You can enjoy your meal, prepare it the way you like, but have these components within it. A lot of fresh, healthy vegetables.
That keeps me comfortable.
Beautiful
because
protein.
I had started wondering whether you're going to tell me to abandon my fufu. That would be a problem for me. That'd be
Divine, you can eat your fufu, but please, you got to decrease, recognize that it's a lot of calories. We need to count the calories. It's a lot of calories. Sometimes we don't want to really count calories, but if you have a bulging stomach, you want to worry about the amount of simple carbohydrates. And that's a simpler form of carbohydrates because it's been ground and pressed together. And some parts of the corn has been removed, of course. So fufu is also a concentrated form of the carbohydrates in corn. So it's going to change into sugar really quickly, quicker than if you ate the entire corn, right? So now with that knowledge, if you have a bulging stomach, you would want to decrease that amount of fufu. I'm not saying stop your fufu. I'm saying you should decrease the amount of fufu you're eating.
Dr. Joana Tala, again, we'll be wrapping up this broadcast in a few minutes, but my phone is still here. If you want to dial and ask her a question yourself, you can dial the number. You don't want to disclose your name, that's fine. You want to text me the question. The number, take note, is 240-603-7367. 240-603-7367. Doc, one of the questions just coming in, let me scroll through. I'm having some text coming in. Very good. Yeah. Okay. The question, Dr. Tala, she writes, you have, in her words, now the person prefers to be anonymous, you have infectious passion when you talk about lifestyle change, when you talk about this abdominal pain, not pain, abdominal fat. Very good. How can you be contacted? I can tell you after this, many people want to contact you.
Please contact me.
Give the information yourself. How can you be contacted, Dr. Joana Tala?
I can be contacted even by phone, by email, or through my website where you'll get the information. The website is www.healthylifestylecc.com. healthylifestylecc.com, all in one word.
That's letter C.
Letter C at the end.
All right. Healthy Lifestyle CC.com. And your phone number, please.
And my phone number is 951-268-6924. 951-268-6924.
Or if you contact Chat Night Africa, obviously we will hook you up. Believe me, we have contacts here. We have contacts here. And again, we just don't come here to talk mundane stuff. We come here with content that is transformative, like what we are doing here. Just so you know, everybody know, we recently upgraded our broadcast website. It is stunning. Once you get there, you are in a completely different world. So this broadcast is on the internet through that website. Go to www.chatnightafrica.net. I want to thank my producer, who is awake now thousands of miles in Lagos to make sure that this program is going out in the quality that you are seeing. I want to also thank Mr. Mumbalingwa, who is my transmission director in Chicago, making sure that this transmission is right. Dr. Tala, do you have any closing remarks? What are, in bullet points, nuggets, things people should not afford to forget after you leave this platform?
Yes, Divine. I would say there are solutions to reducing your belly fat, abdominal fat. This is absolutely reversible. We want people to be patient with the process. It took years to develop. It's going to take quite a bit to reduce and decrease to very normal. Now, that being said, what should be done? Again, nutrition. I've mentioned this multiple times. Regular exercise, right? That helps with multiple things. It helps caloric burning, and it also helps decrease stress, decrease the hormone which stores the body fat. And then, of course, we should have proper sleep and then reduce stress itself. Now, don't hang around with people that are going to always bring you down. Either you tell them to change to positive or you leave that group. We want to be positive. We want to not let things stress us too much, because this stress is really, really, really important in increasing these types of unhealthy deposition of fats in the body, leading to a lot of health issues. So, in short, belly fat or abdominal fat, which is both visceral fat and subcutaneous fat, the most dangerous of which is the visceral fat, fat around the tissues, can be reversed, can also be prevented by just basically living a healthy lifestyle. Eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, having some regular exercise, you will enjoy it. It could be outside, it could be on treadmill, and then get enough sleep and decrease your stress. I thank you very much, listeners.
Dr. Tala, I be the one to thank you on behalf of all the people watching this broadcast. The broadcast is on YouTube now. It's on our Facebook, my timeline on our Facebook broadcast page. It's on LinkedIn. It's also on www.chatnightafrica.net, our brand new upgraded website. It will blow you away what you find there. I want to also recall or remind you that you can reach Dr. Tala, Joana Tala, at the number 951-268-6924. Let me repeat that. 951-268-6924. Thank you, Doc, for coming on Chat Night Africa.
You're very welcome, Divine.
Chat Night Africa. Keep watching Chat Night Africa.
And before I go, I'd like to remind everybody that Chat Night Africa recently acquired a state-of-the-art mobile broadcast equipment. So if you are organizing any occasion whatsoever, wherever you are, even on the top of Mount Everest, we can meet you there and take your social occasion, your function through 5 different platforms across the globe. You know how to contact me. You can reach me by WhatsApp, Facebook, Messenger, email chatnightafrica@gmail.com. Proper sleep, very important. Very soon, I'll be bringing somebody specialized in mattresses to come explain to you how those choices, the choice of mattress you go to buy or sleep on, is important. Remember that 1/3 of your life is on your mattress. And it's not one size fits everybody. I'm going to bring an expert to discuss with you, take your questions on just what kind of mattress gives you the right sleep at night. Thank you for watching. I want to thank all of the people who have been watching this broadcast. I want to thank my producer in Lagos, Roger Full. Phenomenal. He's God-given to Chat Night Africa. Thank you, Roger. You stayed up awake. It's 3 a.m. in Nigeria, Lagos, where you are, to make sure that this goes out to as many people as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Divine Chamukong. I am the anchor, host, if you like, of HealthLine, Family Matters, and Voices of Africa. These are the 3 programs we now run on this platform. Dr. Ilo, the designer of this platform, thank you so much. Merci à tout le monde. Je vous aime, mais il faut que je parte. I love you all, but it's time for me to go. I see you soon and very soon for yet another exhilarating broadcast. Bye for now.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming. Coming to get down. I'm coming. I'm coming. Coming to dance. To dance. We're gonna dance. We're gonna dance. We're gonna get down. We're gonna get down. We're gonna party. Party hardy. We're gonna boogie. Boogie woogie. And when we jam, it's out of sight. This song right here, it's dynamite. I'm ready. I'm coming.